Hello you all, I'm BlaqueWitchYaya. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. Before we start today's video, I do have a major announcement, okay? I got my braces off. Y'all, when I say I do not know how to act, I feel like I have a grown woman smile, like. And if y'all are a little confused, when I first started this channel, I didn't have braces because I had braces back in middle school. I wasn't wearing my retainers, so I had got braces back, and then now they're off again, so we're back to the perfect smile, okay? But in this video, we are not smiling because we are going to talk about a love spell that has gone wrong, specifically the utilization of the underwear spell. So before I explain what all of that is, let me explain what's going on here. I am crafting my crystal dry rub, which is a all-in-one crystal cleanser that is liquid free and smoke free, because we already doing that part for you. You can sprinkle it on your crystals to keep them cleansed, to recharge them, and just to keep them fresh while you are utilizing them, and to enhance the powers and the qualities that the crystals obtain. And you can get your crystal dry rub from BlaqueWitchYaya.com. Also, the smokerization that is going on in here, we have our Palo Santo incense. Get it all nice and cooked up in here. So let's get straight into this story. This is a quick story but powerful story. And this kind of goes to the fact that you want to be careful with what you kind of dip your hands into if you don't fully know about it and know the strength of it. So keep in mind, spell work is very strong. Your words are very strong. So more than likely, with the right intent, whatever you set your mind to is going to happen in the spell. That's why it is very important to be as specific as possible. But in the case of Rachel, she kind of skipped a few steps. So in this story, Rachel is 19 years old and she meets someone by the name of, we'll call him Kevin, that is on the football team at her college. I feel like this is a little bit too loud, so I'm going to crush this and we'll be back. There we go. Much better. So Rachel is 19 years old. She is currently a freshman at college, and Kevin is I'm not sure what D1 means, but they said they had a D1 scholarship to the college to play football. So he's a football player, and she is a chem student at the university. So Rachel met Kevin at the courtyard of the university when they do the whole welcome thing, and like, I forgot what it's called, but that's how they met. I'm fast forwarding through the story to get to the good part. So she really had a crush on him, and Kevin honestly liked her too, but he's like, listen, I'm in college. I'm not trying to be in no relationship. I'm trying to see what everybody else do, and then we'll move on from there. But Rachel just felt this strong connection with him, and she just wanted to focus on only him, right? So Rachel is really feeling him. Like, in between her classes, they'll meet up, they'll talk, but she notices that basically, I mean, he a football player, so it's a whole bunch of other girls that got a crush on him as well. She tried not to get jealous because, for one, they're not together, two, they're just friends, and three, she kind of knows how that whole football player thing goes. But she can't help this strong feeling and connection that she's feeling with him. She's like, listen, that's about to be my husband. I don't care what all these groupies doing. That is my husband, and they need to back away from my husband. And she felt like Kevin was kind of feeding into it, so she was kind of confused, like, I'm feeling this connection with you. Why aren't you feeling this connection with me? When you with me, you whisper sweet nothings into my ear. So what's going on? Like, do you not feel the same thing, or am I just going crazy? So over time, Rachel is consistently trying to always talk to him, get his attention without being too annoying. But she would just notice after each game, it would be more and more girls that's just circling around him. He up here all on people. This was during the Man Crush Monday type thing. So she would notice like half the girls on the campus would have him as the Man Crush Monday on Instagram. So she is like, what in the world is going on? So you would think the logical thing to do would be just to tell him like, hey, I really like you. I was wondering, do you like me? Or maybe I'm just forward and would do that. But she didn't do that. What did she do? Google schmoogle. Hey, Google, How do you know if a boy likes you? How to get to know if a boy likes you? How to get a boy to like you? She did that whole thing, watching videos on YouTube, reading articles, and as she began to go deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, she started to get to the spell side of Google of how to get a boy to like you. Like, write his name down 3 times and keep it in your bra. Like, stuff like that. But she was like, nah, this don't sound right, this and that. And then she came upon a video that explained how to keep a man, basically. So she was like, well, maybe I need to do a mixture of both. I need to know for sure that he likes me, and I want him to only focus on me. Because again, I said he's a football player, so he had a lot of girls' attention. He wasn't a bad guy. He was just the typical freshman single football player, I guess you can say. But he was a really nice guy overall, and that's why the ending happened the way it did. So Rachel comes across this video titled, How to Get and Keep Your Mate. So she begins to watch the video, and the young lady is explaining that to get and keep a man, you first want to have intercourse with him. You want to exchange those energies, ties, those souls, and make that commitment. Afterwards, get the underwear that he was wearing that day and keep it for yourself. Once you get home, you're going to take that underwear, write your name inside the underwear with the white marker, put it under your pillow, sleep on it for at least 3 days, and then keep it in a safe spot. From there, you will begin to notice that he only has eyes for you. He only wants to talk to you. For some reason, he feels weird if he's not next to you. So while watching that video, Rachel is like, this is exactly what I need. I don't need him like marrying me tomorrow, but just only to focus on me so he could see how great and wonderful I am, right? Now, to most people, you may be thinking, this sounds dangerous, this sounds possessive, this sounds a little crazy. It is. And don't repeat that spell. That was basically the very, very short version of it. You guys know I'm against doing love spells on people against their will. Everyone has the right to free will, all that stuff. So this is why I'm telling a bad story, so you guys can see how it could end up being bad. So fast forward, she talks him into doing the deed. And then, of course, he hopped in the shower to get ready for practice. So when he threw his underwear in the hamper, Rachel grabbed it, put it in her bag, and said, all right, bye, gotta go, have a good practice. And she storms out the dorm room, right? She goes back to her dorm, searches for a white marker, writes the name down, put it underneath her pillowcase. And to me, I'm like, oh, I bet them drawers stink. Like, y'all know them young boys gonna be wiping good. Like, oh. She put it in her pillowcase. She slept on that specific pillow for 3 days. And it's important for that spell, as the lady explained, it's important for you to sleep on that pillow that has the underwear for 3 days, because it signifies and it personifies the fact that you only want that person to pay attention to you. So you only pay attention to that pillow with that person's dirty drawers in it. So for this to be Rachel's first time ever doing any type of spell work, basically, she had all the intention. While she was doing it, she was like, oh my gosh, Kevin's only going to like me. He's going to graduate, go to the NFL. I'm going to be an NFL wife. Like, she was doing the whole shebang and going down just this whole valley of what their future is going to look like. So even though she was doing a spell against someone's will, she had all the intention in the world for it to work. And that's why it did. So once she slept on the pillow for 3 days, she took it upon herself to place the underwear underneath her bed. And then over time, for the past few weeks, she noticed that instead of her going to meet Kevin in between her classes, Kevin would already be outside her classroom door. He would kind of scoot past the other girls and sit next to her in the courtyard. They would have longer conversations on the phone. He would start sending her good morning texts. He wanted to start taking her out. He wanted her to start coming to his practices. So she was like, oh my gosh, this is working. This is exactly what I wanted to happen. Oh my God, da 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 da. Like, she is like, I done did the damn thing, right? So during one specific practice, Rachel is, of course, in the stands cheering her man on, because now that's her man. They're officially together. And so one of Kevin's teammates during the break or water break, whatever football be doing down there, the time where they could talk, he's like, yo, who's that girl that always comes to these practices? She mad cute, this and that. So usually you would think someone would be like, hey man, that's my lady. Don't, just kind of play it off, especially with them being teammates. But with Kevin being under this possessive mind state with only Rachel being his, he immediately beat him. And I'm not saying fight, because to me, fighting is like when both people are kind of going for it. No, Kevin beat him. Not to death, but like to the point where a lot of blood was shed. The coaches broke them up, kicked Kevin off the field. They wasn't going to kick him off the team because he was a good football player. So you know how them coaches be playing favoritism. They like, look, no administrative people seen it. Just go home. We'll come to practice tomorrow. Y'all be good. So Rachel ran down the stands and was like, oh my gosh, what happened? Are you okay? What happened? What did he say? And he was like, he was calling you cute. He was calling you cute. And so Rachel was looking like, is that what happened? You beat him like that because he, like, is that all what happened? And Kevin's like, yeah, like, what do you expect me to do? And he's almost getting mad at her, like, yo, you like the fact that he called you cute? She just trying to calm him down, like, yo, no, you're fine. Are you still going to be able to play? Because she want to make sure her NFL check is still clearing. He's like, yeah, they just sent me home. So Rachel's like, yeah, let's just go back to your dorm. I'll fix you something to eat, blah, blah, blah. And so immediately in that moment, Rachel is like, oh Lord, what have I got myself into? So skipping through the story, because there are a lot of little events, Rachel began to notice all the things that she thought was once cute started to become a little annoying and a little bit scary. Like the times where Kevin would meet her outside the class. If she had to stay late to finish a test or talk to the professor, he would kind of be a little annoyed, like, yo, you had me waiting out here an extra 5 minutes. Like, what's going on? What you and the professor got going on? Becoming really, really possessive and a little bit scary. But at first, with Rachel being a little bit new, she was like, well, maybe that's just his way of, like, you know, getting acclimated to me. We're getting to know each other in our routines. That's fine. It's okay. But it continued to get more and more possessive, along with wanting her at every practice, wanting her in the dorm when he got out of practice. And mind you, it's not a co-ed dorm, so she's like, you're going to get me in trouble. And then he would be like, so you don't want to be around me? Like, just basically being a little bit of like gaslighting and narcissistic, but just basically being the possessive person that she kind of wanted to only focus on her. Because during the spell, she did not specify that she wanted to be the only female romantic wise that he focused on. She said in general, I want to be the only person he focused on. So he was failing his classes. He didn't have a high enough GPA to stay on the team. He was now kicked off the team. So he ain't had nothing else to do but be up under Rachel. He tried to change his major to be her major so they could start taking the same classes. Like, it was getting a little bit scary to the point where she was like, okay, I gotta get this off because this is getting ridiculous. But of course, the video she watched, the young lady didn't have a video on how to reverse it. So she was looking up everything on how to reverse a love spell, She burned so many candles. She washed the underwear, dripped it in Florida water, cleansed it off. But she was operating out of fear, so none of her spell work was working, because you have to be operating in a clear mind. But she didn't know that. It seemed like it was just becoming more and more. The more she tried to get rid of him, the more he was there. So she had no other choice. What would any other teenager do in this situation? Go to her mama. She told her Christian mother, hey mom, I know this is going to sound ridiculous. You may not believe in it. You may think what this is like devil stuff, or I'm focusing on the wrong thing. But here's the story. She explained how she had a crush on Kevin. Kevin's a football player. He had all these girls up on her. She only wanted him to focus on her. And so she did some research. And then the research said, if you want a man to like you, take his underwear. So she took his underwear. And now she tried to cleanse the underwear, but he's still not letting her alone. And so then her mother simply said, mail me the underwear. And Rachel was like, for what? Before she could even finish for what, her mother was like, mail me the underwear. And hung up the phone. So she did exactly that. You know, moms know best. She mailed her mother the underwear. And then over weeks in time, she noticed that Kevin would start to back up off of her. Still being a little bit nice, but backing up off of her. He was able to get his grades back up, to get back on the football team. He was now flirting with other girls. Seeing Rachel was more like a high and by. He got kind of annoyed when she was at the practice. He said, you know, you could go do your own thing. I'm good. And then basically to the point where it was back to square one. And so she called her mom, was like, hey, what did you do to the underwear? Like, do you know about this type of stuff? Like, what did you do? And her mother was simply like, just know I fixed it. And you know what this reminds me of? These mamas that swear they Christian be knowing stuff. Because sometimes I listen to my family talk about what I do and they think it's just so different and kind of weird. They don't judge it. But sometimes when they say stuff, I'm like, how you know what that mean? Or like, how you know what I'm doing? Or how you know what that crystal for? So they be knowing stuff low key. It may not be called spell work, voodoo, hoodoo, but that root work, Everybody know a little bit of it. But the moral of this story is, do not play around with love spells, some stuff you just seen on TikTok that looks easy, because you are playing with people's lives, people's free wills, and that karma will hit you. And the karma did hit Rachel. I'm not able to share that part of the story, but she just didn't get away scot-free. She didn't have any physical harm, but just know she felt that later on in her young life of what she did to Kevin. So don't think just because you did a reversal spell on someone after you try to put them under a spell, karma still got to do what karma got to do, okay? But thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. And like I always say, as above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. Until next time, you guys.